Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Meeple has landed.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Vitruvian Meeples presentation of The Powers That Be, a Claim the Sky campaign. I'm here with Patrick, Ekat, Magda, Julie, and Ray for Issue 2. This episode is entitled Decisions. As always, we have a whole lot to do and not a whole lot of time, so I'm going to hand it over to our Game Master, Patrick, for a quick recap, and then we're going to get right into the action. Patrick, please take us into the world of Excelsior.
Excellent. So deep within the Borough of Queens, a group of unlikely heroes gathered together to defend their neighborhood against a group of hooligans known as the Hooligans. They struck together, went into the hooligan bar, tried to act like they were just, visitors, but the hooligans were having none of their shenanigans and immediately attacked. Several of the hooligans fled as things turned bad, including on fire. Finally, the villain Hex appeared from the bathroom and was taken out in fairly short order, but not before turning a certain speedster's boots into ice and causing him to slide into the wall, which is a rather unusual ability. During the combat, Black Ice discovers her various powers, including one when she was accidentally hit by Gen X. And Gen X's abilities exhibit the corruption that is happening deep inside of him. Crash discovered that it hurts when he loses his traction. Paul waded straight into the fight, started busting people's faces, and very little consideration for their feelings on the subject matter.
Cat.
And of course, Tink lit a bar stool on fire, the seat and foam padding to be precise, and pitched a Molotov or two into the battle. Following this battle, the party escapes the conflagration, but not until Crash, of course, has helped himself to the identity and other things that might be found in the wallets of the perpetrators, only to run into a STEM agent, the hero known as Night Knight, and the hero known as Eidolon, who threateningly indicate, we need to talk. And so we begin. So the three of them stand before you. Eidolon looking quite large and imperious, trying to look down his fine aquiline nose at you. Night Knight is just standing there with his hand on the pommel of his sword. Still sheathed, though. You can count yourself lucky. And the STEM agent, it is nice but fairly bland suit, looks to the group of you and says, would you mind following me, please?
Well, this isn't going to be good.
Yes. I mean, you're asking the question, I'm answering. Yes, I would actually mind. I have places to go, money to spend, as you do.
The agent looks over at Eidolon and looks over at Night Knight and says, well, you can run if you want, We might even give you a head start. Or you can just join us. It's a brief conversation.
I've never been a fan of brief conversations in blacked out cars, but I suppose since you boys asked so nicely, I can make an exception.
Well, politeness does go a long way.
Don't get used to it.
I lean over to Tink and
You blinked out when I leaned over to Tink.
I don't think you're getting your papers graded tonight.
No, but I better get funding out of this.
Oh, honey, government grants are the best.
In the distance, you hear various sirens approaching the area. You can tell the difference. Some are police, and of course, some are fire, because the building behind you is burning quite nicely. Even though the outside of it is stone, the inside was made out of all sorts of things produced back in the 70s that under no circumstances would pass any sort of fire regulations these days. So they take you around the side of the building and down the street a little bit, and 3 vehicles pull up in front of you. Rather dramatically, they pull up, skid to the side. The agent looks at the group with you, says, okay, here's your choice tonight. Either you can join me in the limousine. We can go and get some dessert and have a chat. Or those of you who are not registered can go into the police wagon and be taken downtown for processing. Those of you who are registered can get into the hover van to be analyzed by STEM and your justice to be meted out to you, handled by the league directly. Or you can try to run. That is your choice. Personally, I would recommend getting some dessert. I know a wonderful place. They have at least 40 different types of pie waiting for us. On the other hand, I am not going to stop you if you wish to be incarcerated. And if you wish to run, I believe the other two have let their feelings be known on that subject.
So, Patrick, while this has been going on, can I have taken my a 1-action rest?
Yes, you may.
Excellent, because, I'm down a whole bunch of might points.
I would like to do the same.
And I got 2 of them back, because that sucks.
So on your character sheet, if you... let me pull somebody up so I know which button to hit.
At the top of the right-hand column, there's the recovery section. Just click on the word recovery. Yep. And then if you click on the little next 10 minutes, that will advance your recovery. I'm not advancing mine because I have a shift in healing, which gives me an extra 1-action recovery.
Hey, I got 4 points.
Which I actually think I'm also going to use because that roll sucked.
And you can add those points to any of your pools until they get to max.
Alright. So I clicked 10 minutes and then I have to click on this. No?
Okay, no. So click on the 1 action in the recovery box. Okay, so that was your first recovery of the day, right?
Yes.
Okay, then don't worry about clicking the little next thing. You're already at 10 minutes, which is where you should be.
Oh, I clicked on 10 minutes.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. You're fine. Don't click anything. Okay. We're good.
So what do I do with those 7 points?
You can put them in any one of your pools. Or I'm sorry, no, it's because it's healing recovery. You can put them in any combination of your pools as you wish. Up to, obviously, your maximum.
I think I was already at my maximum.
Okay, well then, set yourself back to...
Because you didn't need to recover.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, just set yourself back to 1 action, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
Cool.
Unfortunately, you scared off most of the people that were planning on attacking you by throwing a Molotov at them.
I mean,
It wasn't the Molotov that scared them. It was the stool sample.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That's a crappy joke.
Was that a stinker?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm fine.
So-
You have appealed to my
The
more
agent
civilized nature
looks
who likes
over
pie.
and then looks at Gen X and says, "Oh, except for you. You're free to go if you'd like. You're a registered hero after all. You were heroing. You are free to leave if you wish. Have a good evening, or you can join us if you want."
Nice, nice to feel special. Think I'll hang for a little longer.
Perks of spandex, eh, old man?
Keep talking.
That is one of the things I do best.
I just kind of shrug and go, I like pie.
pie is good.
You're like, I'm
Plunkered
nothing
into my
special,
coat.
but I'm in academia, which means I will never pass up free food. Do they have frozen yogurt?
Yeah, actually, they do. It's a nice dessert place.
Fine.
For sure.
So I believe we are all getting in the non-police wagon car.
As you crawl into the car, you notice that people are being pulled out of the flaming building now. The first one out is the old man. He's dragged out. He's not looking so good at the moment, but he does appear to be breathing, so that's a bonus. So you get into the nice stretch limo with very darkly tinted windows, as purely well predicted, and starts driving across town. In fact, it goes over the bridge and onto the island, which is people who live here. You know that the island's an expensive place now. As you can see from the picture, the wonderfully glorious towers and everything. People who work on the island don't live on the island. They can't afford it. If you don't already have money, you're probably not going to be there. But they drive over the bridge. The vehicle, by the way, is being driven by the STEM agent. The two heroes are in the back with you, just kind of watching you all. Extra awkward because one of them is wearing a full set of plate mail. And they can't be doing any good to the upholstery.
If he doesn't know how to sit down by this point, that's hardly our problem.
Yeah.
So as the vehicle drives, Night looks over at Gen X, as you probably don't remember me.
You're shiny, but you're not ringing a bell right now.
Back in the day when you were running with the Queensmen, the Queen's Guard, I actually hooked up with your group for a while. It's where I learned the ropes of heroing from the early day. I didn't have this nice suit of armor, of course, but I did stay with the motif. So it's great to see you back and about. Everyone was kind of worried because, well, you dropped out after a while. And, bad things had happened and all. But just, let you know that, there are still people who remember.
Thanks.
So a limousine passes over the bridge, goes through a few streets, and pulls in front of a little hole-in-the-wall restaurant at the bottom of a very, very large tower, crystalline glass that stretches up into the heavens. And the side door is open. Night and Eidolon get out. If you'd like to join us. And they walk into this little restaurant. It has kind of Italian theme to it.
So just to be obnoxious, because that is one of the other things he does best. Crash will zip past them and open the door and hold the door open for them. Oh, after you, I'm sure.
Eidolon just kind of gives you the stink eye as he walks by. Night Knight looks at you and does a very graceful bow. And you hear all the plates in his armor slide around, and then steps in.
Okay.
As I walk in, I pull a quarter out of my pocket and I flip it in his general direction as I'm walking in.
Okay. As it's falling, I flick it with my finger and it lands back in your hand.
Try to be nice.
So the restaurant is empty at this hour, and which kind of makes sense. It's almost 2 a.m. now. You're all starting to feel it a little bit. And the last person to walk in is the agent, who has parked the car somewhere, probably on the sidewalk around the corner because there's not a whole lot of street side parking in the city anymore. They go in, there's one person working there who goes and takes your orders out of the 40 some odd variants of pie that they have, and of course all the espresso you can drink.
Do they have like a self-serve, soft serve thingy?
Yes.
Ha! I like make a beeline towards it and just get like the most obnoxious thing of like soft serve or froyo with like all of the accoutrement.
Sprinkles, more sprinkles,
No,
candy bar
All of the
jumps.
candies.
No, mouth under the spigot or GTFO.
So you're sitting at a couple of the tables, because the tables are fairly tiny. And the two heroes are sitting at a table by the door, just kind of staring at each other, basically. You can't really see what Night Knight's actually looking at because his visor's down. And there's some sort of shielding that keeps you from seeing his eyes. Once again, probably part of his rather delightfully complicated armor. But the agent walks up, sits amongst you, and starts having himself a slice of cherry pie, as one does. So, I have a bit of an ultimatum for you.
I'm sorry, who's this? Is the agent saying this?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a bit of an ultimatum for you. For reference, I am Agent Zashansky. Some call me Z. That's just people who can't pronounce Polish names. So what you did tonight, with, of course, the exception of Gen X, is patently illegal. You used your abilities in order to harm others. Were involved in arson. If we look at the tapes, strangely enough, we'll note that you did go in seemingly with malice aforethought, and that is also a concern that it brought to trial. This just would never look good, which is fine, because we're going to totally wipe the slate clean of what you had done. Does that sound like a good plan?
I don't know what abilities you're talking about.
That's true. Actually, she did nothing. She did nothing actually superhuman.
Actually, she did. She had made the incendiary devices.
Yeah, but she didn't do it while she was there.
Yeah, but they spy on people.
That's fair.
Which, by the way, she could also just argue that she doesn't have abilities and just go through the regular criminal justice system.
Yeah.
None of you are really quite, well, actually, except for Ray, not quite sure which justice system is worse to go through, because you never really hear about anybody that has gone through this STEM system. Afterwards, the trials are just this person's on trial, and they disappear from the news forever. People who go through the mundane system, on the other hand, it doesn't like people who use powers that aren't supposed to, especially when they hurt people. Kind of a hot button.
I mean, I've got an in with the mundane system, but
Indeed, you do.
yes, in fact, he one might say he sent me there. In fact, so just out of curiosity, have you spoken to Captain Emerson lately? The EPD.
Oh, I have not. No, I'm not familiar with him.
He's the captain of the local precinct. There's some partnership things going on, just so you know.
Interesting. We'll have to look into that. So, here's the offer I'm willing to put on the table. The first question is, did you actually enjoy what you did last night? Earlier this evening? Delivering a little bit of justice, that law obviously was not prepared to deal with. And, let fly with what you're able to do. Did you like that?
I don't even know what the hell happened.
Well, in your case, that's a little complicated. Interestingly enough, we do have experts who can explain it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you are registered already, so we can figure that out if you'd like. It's unusual, certainly, but aren't we all?
Mm-hmm.
So,
with the cane that I stole from the old guy.
By the way, you notice on the cane there is a little trigger on around the back of the head of it, and if you push it, the little eyes light up.
Oh. I think I saw that at a carnival once.
So, what I would offer is, if you would like to, perhaps, those of you who aren't, register with the program and apply to, become registered heroes, we could therefore overlook what happened tonight as simply the actions of heroes. As James will explain here, if he would care. He's a hero. This is what he's allowed to do. He has under the full protection of the agency, and the law can do absolutely nothing about him. He is completely our problem, and he didn't do anything wrong.
I am registered.
Yes, but you're not a hero.
Well, that
your
depends.
registration very explicitly states, if you will happen to note, page 15, section 25/8, that you are not allowed to use your abilities against another person without their consent. That is a high crime for you.
Damn fine print.
But they were a bunch of wankers who have been starting shit in the neighborhood. They're not good guys.
Oh, of course not. That's why we're offering you. If you had gone after, let's say, some upstanding citizens with what you did, that's a different matter entirely. We have a different department for that.
Departments for everything.
Oh, yes, we do.
And all the paperwork that goes with it?
You have no idea.
So take, for instance, you do know that heroes have ability to get budget for what they work on.
What is this hero thing you keep mentioning?
So there are, to put things in a very simple light, there are 4 types of people who have powers. There are unregistered powers. Nobody's forcing them to register at all. They are under the regular state authorities, and they just have to live with whatever they have and use it in any sort of non-harmful way that does not violate any local ordinances. It gets complicated. Then you also have registered powers. Registered powers are under our legal purview instead of the local authorities. It allows you to use your abilities freely so long as it doesn't harm anybody. especially not without any sort of malice involved. Those are the first two. Then the third is shall we say, a vigilante. A vigilante is somebody who has powers and engages in some sort of extra-legal crime fighting. They are not working with us, but they're not technically working against us per se. But what they're doing is hideously illegal, and we every once in a while have to round a few of them up. And then there are heroes. There are those who they are fully sanctioned. They have to be tested and trained in what to do. And then, given that, though, that gives you the privileges to, well, do whatever you want with your heroing. As long as you are going after people are recognized as villainous in any sort of way, we'll turn a blind eye to your actions. If you'll take note, Night Knight over there, with his delightful longsword, kills people on the regular. We're not joking here. He's very, very good with that thing, and he doesn't carry it for show. Has he ever faced trial for eviscerating anybody? No, of course not. He's a hero. He only does that to people who are bad. So the question is, were the hooligans villains, or were the hooligans criminals? And that's up to you. If you wish to consider enrolling, then all of this would be wiped away. We would never care about it again. If you choose not to, I'm not going to force you into anything. We'll still not charge you for anything that happened tonight. We will not let in on the authorities in on what happened. But we better not catch you doing it again.
But if I don't have powers, can I still get funding?
I would argue that you do. You just don't recognize what they are. That's why you were there.
Because they wouldn't shut up, and I needed to get the grading done. Academia sucks.
I have a question for you. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a little device that's attached to his ear jack, unplugs it, and puts it on the table. So the battery in this thing lasts 12 hours. And it's about to die. I need you to recharge it for me.
I reach into my jacket and I grab a little screwdriver and I like pop it open and I move a couple of wires and then I just like shove it into the wall for 3 seconds and then I put it back together and I hand it back to him.
And he checks it. It's fully charged. So you do realize you just broke the laws of physics, right?
Do you want me to show you the math? It makes perfect sense.
You just applied an alternating current to a direct current power source. The battery should have exploded.
It's got a converter in it.
It does not.
It totally does. That little wire right there that's like coiled right next to the other wire that's coiled.
It only works that way because you're the one doing it. Would you like to see me try to plug it in like that?
I would.
You're gonna
It's a very delicate piece of equipment.
I mean, if you're saying there's a chance it'll explode, please, by all means.
Oh, it'll totally explode.
Excellent.
You're just gonna plug in the capacitor backwards.
I'm
So
going to
you
go
don't
and get
realize-
myself another piece of pie. Be right back.
You don't realize it, but you have been doing this for a long time. And mind you, we've noticed.
I am now actively miming eating popcorn.
Look, man, you can believe whatever you want, but if this gets me a better lab.
Have you ever been working on a project at 2 a.m, you're really tired, and then you just kind of get it to work?
Yeah, it's called grad school.
Exactly. Most people, their stuff doesn't work at 2 a.m. They screw it up worse.
Hey, some of us do our best work at 2 a.m.
Exactly.
Yes.
More
We're
so,
not in the same
have
line of
you ever
work here.
built
Hero.
anything somebody else wasn't able to use?
I mean, yeah,
You
but
couldn't understand how it worked.
oh, nobody ever understands what I make.
There you go. If you would like, I can introduce you to Mr. Simon Sawyer. He can explain to you what your ability is. He has the same one.
don't expect like some philosophy major to be able to use whatever I make. What is this, like the humanities? No.
Four of your professors has explained to us that you've handed in things that they cannot figure out how it operates. One of them was powered by a stick
You
and
know
bubble.
who can get a job as a professor? Because I do.
So,
He'll
simply
let
the question
anybody
is,
in.
if you wish, you can join together, and we'll even provide you with a free transport down to Washington in order to enroll for the program for those who need to, and to apply for your heroing license or not. So that's up to you. And you do know who Simon Sawyer is, correct? Sentinel, extraordinarily wealthy person, has lots of money to throw around on all sorts of engineering projects and things that just happen to delight him that particular day. He's quite the altruist.
I'm no hero. But I will admit that it was fun. So tell me about this middle of the road option.
Oh, being a vigilante, that is.
I'm not quite ready for the skin-tight look.
Well then, if you wish to take that route, that would require you just walk out the door now and just keep doing what you're doing. But also take into consideration, once again, you will have absolutely no protection from us in doing it. And if we tire of you, we'll just arrest you and throw you in the dark cell forever. You know that we have a substance that is so slippery no person can run on it or move? You just kind of slide around your cell anytime you move in the slightest bit. Cough, you slide to the other side. It's delightful.
That might be
So
fun for a while.
I come back over with an entire apple pie. Not a slice, just the entire thing. Okay, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I really cannot go against my family. They raised me, they protected me. I need to be able to protect them. If I get registered and join up, is this going to end up being a massive conflict of interest because family first?
Oh, many of your family are part of the program.
While she's saying this, by the way, I'm totally swiping a piece of wine.
There's a little blur. You're sitting there with he's pie, you know. In fact, typically when you sign up, being as you are, we have a agreement with the family, and a couple of them will join you to assist you with any paperwork that you may need or answer your questions. Or if you'd like, you can call your parents.
Wait, what?
I have their number on my phone if you'd like. If you need permission.
I don't need permission. I need to not have a conflict of interest.
I point over to Black Ice. I think she might need permission.
I agree.
Are you even legal yet?
I mean, I suppose the question is legal to what?
Well, she can be perfectly legal once she signs up. See what I did there? And the agent chuckles at his own joke because nobody else is going to.
Right?
I pushed the little button on the cane.
The eyes light up.
Cool.
All right, look. Let's cut to the bottom of the page. Phil. Can I call you Phil? It doesn't matter. I'm going to call you Phil anyway. So let's say we sign your little declaration of hero pendants. We become your little, what, lapdogs?
No, not at all. You, generally speaking, will want to find your niche wherever you are, where you're going to work. Some people travel over the whole world, but generally you don't start off like that. But otherwise, no.
So
You
what?
don't have to be particularly active to still be a hero in good faith, as you can tell from your friend Gen X here.
So what's the catch? Because there's always catch.
That exactly.
Well, do you want to be a hero is the question. Or do you just want to go back to living the life you were living before?
No. The question is, do I want you to call me a hero? Because if
Oh, it's not what I call people. He points over at the other table. It's what they call people. They're really the ultimate arbiters of the whole thing.
Oh.
Liberty League runs it. They're the head administrators. It's a full-time job for the most part, except for Simon. He somehow runs a company too. He has good people though.
And probably a whole crap ton of caffeine.
A whole management structure just dedicated to keeping him out of the way, I'm sure. So we sign up as heroes. You give us leave to do basically whatever we want. As long as we stay out too far from underfoot.
As long as it's anything resembling heroing.
Oh. Whose definition of heroing?
Points at the other table.
Son of a bitch.
Are
You know,
always
basically,
this-
if you were to go after someone like yourself.
But I
What was that, guys?
I look at Cat Crash and I'm just like, are you always this tiresome?
My records say he is yes.
All signs point to yes.
God.
The data says.
I know just enough science to know that the plural of anecdote is data.
All right.
This is where I
Please make up their minds. Look, I'm already part of your as help my medical. I'll take whatever stupid title you want to give me as long as I can get back to work and help my.
All right. So he reaches into his pocket, pulls out a plane ticket, and hands it to Black Ice. Since you're our first taker. Unfortunately, it's a red eye. It leaves in a couple hours. So, Crash. The phone in your pocket dings, which is a little funny because you didn't bring your phone with you.
Yeah, I
Because
did.
nobody takes their phone with them when they're stealing stuff. That's ridiculous.
That's how I was playing my music.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, so is this the burner phone or is this the real one?
No, you don't have your real phone on you,
Okay,
I would imagine.
okay, so I've got
Because once again, GPS tracing and stuff.
sure. So I've got the burner.
So your burner dings.
Pardon me.
You have a text message from your friend with the police.
Okay.
How'd it go?
So while all this is going on, I like reaching across like the entire like crossways across or diagonally across the table, to get at the napkins. And I just grab a handful, put them in front of myself, and I'm very carefully making sure that I have wiped up all of the massive amounts of pie I've just eaten from my face and my hands.
So I text back, still in progress, trying to stay out of a stem cell.
You get a response back. Who did I ask for you to investigate?
If your memory is that bad, it's not my problem.
He sends you a picture.
Okay.
And it's a pair of very high-tech manacles.
The things I do for so-called friends. All right. I think you've proven your point. Besides, she'll get herself killed without someone watching. I'm in.
All right. And he pulls out a plane ticket. Curiously enough, it's for Sawyer Airlines.
Nepotism swells in the heart of the American bear.
Take my ever-present tablet out and send a quick email to my aunt, let her know I'm not going to get paid.
Sorry, I will not be able to open the store in the morning.
Yep.
So, what about the other two of you? You interested?
I lost my video. Sorry. Who were you pointing at?
Oh, at you and Pa.
As I'm pulling, like any good associate professor, I'm pulling out the Tupperware out of my backpack and like trying to shove it with as much pie. And like, you're asking like right as I'm putting the lid on it, click, click, and sticking it back into my bag. I mean, like, I do like the prospect of research funding.
And apparently a fully stocked fridge.
I mean, like, I guess I can take your stupid tests that aren't going to go anywhere. If that'll give me
Excellent
funding.
I might as well. Yeah, I said I might as well. I mean, if this will help me be able to protect my family and the neighborhood.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all very much. Oh, and Gen X, would you like to join them, perhaps? Unless you had something going on in the next couple of days.
Do I get the same all-encompassing benefits that I've been receiving these last few years?
Yes. You don't have to sign up. You're already in. But if you'd like to, go and visit Liberty Plaza, check the statues out, maybe a few old friends hanging out there.
Emphasis on old.
Oh, of note, the statues in Liberty Plaza are all heroes who have fallen. Anywhere in the course of their duties.
Just Blair. Making a mental note to deal with them later.
You have a 6 ticket here. It's a nice vacation.
I know you've got the ticket. That's not the question. Have you still come up with any answers that I haven't gotten? That's the question.
We have some new avenues of research we can do.
Avenues of research.
We do have a very large science division, of course. We've been getting better. Especially your kind, interestingly enough. There's a couple of new players on the field, and it's interesting what's been going on with their alien guests. Does yours have a name, by the way?
Never was made known to me.
Some people can actually talk into theirs and hear back. Others can't.
Trust me, we'd be having a conversation long before this night ever came about.
I would imagine, yes. I've always found your kind very, very interesting because I've just been kind of curious as to where those things come from and what they're doing.
Yeah,
Some
well,
are,
your guess would be as good as mine.
Some are quite harmless and others, well, devastating. It's interesting, as I said. All right, well, I think that'll take care of me for now. If you would like, I can. The car is there, and it can take you back to your homes if you have anything you need to do for the next 3.5 hours. Otherwise, if it can just take you to the airport as well, and maybe you can have a nap in the VIP room. You look like you've had a tough night.
Well, heroing's a harsh business.
Eidolon rolls his eyes at the guy.
I don't know, like, my day's just starting.
Meanwhile, you're calculating how many papers can I grade in the time of, let's see, minus the time it takes me to get there and then get to the airport from school.
That does bring to question, who's going to take over my course load?
Oh, well, that's kind of up to you whether do you want to keep teaching or make this a full-time job.
I mean, like, I do like the teaching part, but if I could get a couple of adjuncts to do my grading.
Oh, you can try to negotiate that. That's within the realm of possibility.
You don't have teaching assistants?
At my level, no.
I'm sure Sawyer Corp could spare you a couple of interns. How long is this trip going to take?
A couple days at most.
All right, then, yeah, I want to go back and pack some clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely gonna need a couple changes of clothes.
Oh, good thing both of you live in the same neighborhood. And, well, Crash, I'm sure you can get to your place and back out there in fairly short order.
Anything else here, Phil?
Oh, no. Oh, by the way, the garbage can's over there if you want to dispose of any of the wallets after you've gutted them with what's in them.
Yes, I mean,
He so you see that same, he kind of slips to the side. You see that same crash of broken glass. The door swings open and closed. About a second later, you see it swing open again. There's a little blur around the trash can for a second, and then it's gone.
So the two heroes stand up after the other just sitting there kind of watching each other and chatting a little bit. And they lead you outside. And Eidolon looks at the group of you. Well, thank you very much for considering pursuing the right path. I'm sure in the long run you will learn to appreciate it as much as we have. But that said, I have to get going. And he steps back, and in a very hokey type of voice, raises up his hand and says, "The power of Hermes!" and then flies off. And Night Night watches him go. He's an interesting character. He whistles loudly, and from around the corner, what could best be described as a rocket-propelled horse flies down the street. As it goes by, he grabs it by the pommel, jumps onto its back, and disappears into the sky as well.
Interesting character, huh?
He's a nice rocket trail behind him.
So we have a new definition of interesting.
I was going to say a little over dramatic, but
Dinner and a show.
An agency walks out into the street as well, closes the door behind him to make sure it's locked. Like, okay, well, hopefully I will have a chance to see you again soon. Puts his finger up to his ear. Yeah, could you take me back? Thank you. And he disappears.
Huh. I thought we were getting a lift back.
Oh, the car's still sitting there. As mentioned, it's just on the street, parked up on the sidewalk. Nice and considerate for all the other people in the neighborhood who occasionally give it dirty looks as they walk by.
Huh. I walk over. What were you going to say?
Oh, so as you open the door, there's nobody driving the vehicle. The driver's seat is empty. But on the other hand, on the little entertainment system, you see the symbol for Sawyer Electronics. And a very nice calm voice says, "Please have a seat."
I hold the door open for the other three.
So you get in, have a seat.
I
The
get
car
the
starts.
front seat so that I can like poke at things and like open panels and.
The car starts driving away, all on its own, of course.
that's a little
And you're like, and it is trying its best to stymie you by not allowing you to do anything. And the construction of this is really fascinating. The entire dash is seamless. So it was like put in as one unit, which makes it really hard to get access to what's happening behind it.
Please do not do that. It tickles.
So a short while later, it pulls back into the neighborhood. The firefighters are still putting the building out. You guys did a number on this thing, and once again, you're not quite sure what it was made out of, but you really wish you could use it as a source of fuel in a wood-burning stove because this stuff seems to burn forever. There's a bunch of hooligans being packed into ambulances, and the police wagon that you saw earlier is full of the rest of them. And a couple of them are being led back down the street by some police officers, one of whom is still smoking. Interestingly, their building may burn for a long time, but their clothes seem to be pretty durable and, do not completely incinerate off of them. Good fashion choices in their part. Good wool or something like that.
Yeah. So
as you go into your homes and collect some of your stuff, because you don't have a whole lot of time.
I am actually heading to the police precinct and, basically zipping through the office as unseen and stealthy as I am into Emerson's office, because I figure he's still going to be there.
Yes, Emerson is sitting at his desk. The lights are pretty dim, but you can see his face in the glow of his computer screen as he's tacking away at something. Good to to see you. So you had a good night, Crash?
Not sure yet. You're going to level with me now?
So, I have to tell you something about STEM. And this is something I've only recently figured out. They're not a government agency at all. There's no official warrant for them to exist anywhere in any federal documentation. They receive no funding from the government. They are not under their purview whatsoever. And yet somehow, and I have not yet figured this out, they have legal authority in this country. Does that seem a little odd to you, perhaps? The government foreign by the people, perhaps being a little subverted by this organization? It strikes me as a little funny. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody on the inside of it, and I am very, very curious as to what's going on. So would you perhaps be interested in, shall we say, finding out?
Oh, what the hell, I've always been too curious for my own good.
I will tell you something, though. You will have to be very, very careful. You aren't the first person somebody's been tried to get involved in finding out what's happening. I belong to a, shall we say, fairly covert organization within the police to ascertain what's going on with your kind. And we've had slipped a couple people in before, but they've all rather drastically changed their minds. And that kind of concerns me as well.
Well, I'm sure that if I suddenly have an overwhelming desire to be a moral, upstanding citizen, I'm sure you'll be the first person to try to put a bullet in my brain.
It would certainly be unusual in your case, wouldn't it?
So,
and mind you, I don't have a whole lot to offer.
I need to step away to take care of cats.
But on the other hand, I do have one thing which may appeal to you.
I'm listening.
Which is to say, it may appeal to, say, your vanity. If you do manage to uncover what's going on, your name can very easily be attached to it in such a way that it's not easily erased. And if you're the one person who can do it, well, what's that say about you?
All right.
And if you want, I can probably pay you as a confidential informant, but it's not very good money. It's usually for drug pushers.
Well, we all know that it's hard to make a living on just the stipend. It's how we got to be such good friends in the first place.
Indeed. You, your ambitions are a known quantity, which is a wonderful thing. That's a person I can work with.
All right. You got yourself an arc.
Excellent. So, working undercover is a little bit like spy work, unfortunately. And so I'll need a way for my compatriots to get in touch with you if they need to. Because we do have a couple people, not on the inside, but nearby. So, and government types, of course. So, since you're going into visit Washington, you're in their territory. We keep a very, very close eye on Liberty Plaza, I'll tell you. It's not a place that, we're thankful for what they've done, but we're a little suspicious of what they're doing. You understand what I'm getting at. Especially may we consider what happened to our fine city once upon a time.
Yes, I've heard the stories.
So, if you see anybody who's wearing a particular symbol that we'd like to use, you'll know that they're one of us. And he holds up a card, and on it is a police shield for, like a police benevolent association. You see these stickers on the backs of people's cars who run through red lights all the time. Except in the middle of it is a pair of gavels that are crossed on top of the star. If you see this, it's one of ours. But please don't tell anybody. It's the network's fairly fragile right now.
All right. I think I'll stop and pick up a new phone on the way. I'll send you the number.
Excellent.
All right. And at that point, I will leave the office, head back to the apartment, close down everything, throw a little heater tab into the fish tank. Grab, an extra pair of underwear. Zip by a convenience store. Liberate a prepaid phone. Stop outside. Maybe Barstool Chick can get me some extra minutes. I text Emerson the number, and I head off to the airport.
Okay. So the rest of you are pulling into LaGuardia Airport in the back of a driverless limousine, which the more you think about it isn't all that, strange and bizarre technology, aside from the fact that it does not obey any traffic laws. It seems to go through traffic fairly seamlessly. So you arrive at a private gate, which Crash, by the way, is directed to, and he pulls out his ticket. Where the frick is this gate? Oh, it's on the other side of the airport. So you get to it. It's a very, very swanky place. The airport terminal is fairly small. There's not many people there. They're very, very, very early still. The sun's just coming up. But on the other hand, the service staff is very perky and very old-fashioned. Instead of having, your typical flight assistants, you have stewardesses, and all dressed like they, worked for TWA back in the 60s.
The staff is old-fashioned. Funny, so is my drink. But
eventually, they call for boarding, not through a PA. A person walks around. Says, oh, by the way, we're boarding for the next flight. And then they take your tickets, just look at it, and then hand it back to you. The plane itself is not a style any of you recognize from any previous flights you've taken. Its wing pattern is strange. It has two sets of wings. The back ones are swept forward. The front ones are kind of short and stubby and swept back. It has big vents on the top and big vents on the bottom and a couple of jet engines in between. You're let in is the pinnacle of comfort. It's the type of thing that you typically see, oligarchs and billionaires tooling around the world and occasionally doing interviews from. Very nice plush seats and, a nice fully stocked bar. And the captain comes on. The captain has a whole pile of medals on his chest from the various fights he's been in during the various wars. Well decorated for a commercial airline pilot. And he asks you to have a seat, and we'll be in Washington in about 15 minutes.
impressive.
Now, did we board the plane by a gangplank, or did we have to go upstairs to get into the plane?
You had to go upstairs.
Okay. Before we got in, I look around to see if I see any of my avian friends hanging about.
Indeed. They followed you.
So I pause before climbing up this to keep an eye on my aunt while I'm gone.
They all scatter into a big cloud of blackness, cawing a lot, and then start flying off in the direction of.
Then I just shrug and climb up. Basically, in true teenage ennui fashion, just plop down into one of the chairs.
Crash gets to the top of the stairs, turns around, does the double thing, and says, "I am a crook," and walks inside.
So, Tink, you recognize what this is. You haven't seen too many of them, but you studied them. It's a scramjet. So it, of course, has its jets to get started, and then the scram engine kicks on once it hits supersonic. And, of course, the vents in the front collect the compressed air from the shock wave and sends it through the fuel system, and it jets it out the back at ridiculous speed. It is a very, very nice toy. You would love to own one of these.
I do my best impression of like an 8-year-old girl with like very bright open eyes. It's like, can I see the cockpit? Please?
And so one of the stewardesses leads you up front, and the captain's like, "Oh, is this your first flight?" The control panel, of course, looks more fighter jet than commercial jet.
I'm taking all of the mental notes.
And of course, there's just tons of levers, buttons, and knobs, none of which are properly labeled. It looks like whoever put this together is not a gigantic fan of user friendliness, but it still seems to work.
So Tink's future self.
Yeah.
I'm like already thinking like, man, this button would be so much better served if it was on this side, and if we moved this lever over here, and it would be so much more ergonomic.
And the pilot says, "Oh, you're telling me this is not an easy thing to fly." Ooh. But he likes to design all of his own toys.
Fair.
So he starts taxiing the plane out. You probably want to have a seat. The G-forces are fairly substantial here. Oh, but before we go, and he pulls out a pin in the shape of the airplane, hands it to you.
I put it on my coat.
So by the time she comes back out,
Oh, I'm not leaving until I'm removed.
yes, but everybody else that finds me curled up in a chair, like in the one seat, so like the feet are tucked up, kind of knees are up. She's kind of half twisted, and everybody's wondering how the hell is that comfortable.
Oh, and does your tail curl around you when you do it?
Yes.
So the stewardess leads you out and takes you to one of the seats, right as the plane hits the end of the runway, and the stewardess bolts herself into her seat with a 6-point harness because she's facing the wrong way, of course. And then the plane takes off at a fairly good clip, veers over the ocean, gains a lot of altitude, and then you feel the sensation like your eyeballs want to meet the back of your skull. As it finally hits supersonic, the scramjet kicks on, and with just a tremendously rough ride, which you're surprised at given how nice it is. Like everything on the bar is rattling and stuff. The thing goes, and a few minutes later, it slows down, banks again, and starts going in for a landing.
So, is there anybody else on the plane with us besides?
Interestingly, no. It's just the group of you.
So
you, 3 stewardesses, and 2 pilots.
So as soon as we have hit our cruising speed and we're no longer accelerating, I go and I like shove a sugar packet under the wheels of the cart so that it stops vibrating.
Damn it. And out the window, you're just watching the seaboard of the United States just whip past. And you're at a significant altitude, and you're like, wow, that thing's moving.
So whenever we finally reduce speed and starting in for the landing, can the stewardesses come up and do stuff after that?
Yes.
Okay. So as they start to walk up and down the aisle, they notice me, and I've got a death grip on the handles and just a pained look on my face. And one of the stewardesses leans in and goes, "It's a little rough, isn't it?" I'm like, "It's not my favorite." She leans in a little bit and says, "You know what works for me? Whenever you get out and you go to your room, you want to take your shoes off and make fists with your toes."
Oh, you lost paw.
And a little bit of incredulity. I look, is like, "I'll try that." And I'm looking out the window for any particular high rises that we might be entering.
Crash, meanwhile, as we were going supersonic and the seaboard was whizzing by, he just kind of leans, looks out the window, shrugs, seen it.
All right.
Rolled up in my coat, shivering.
Yes. So I've changed scene in Roll20, so you get a vision for what DC looks more like these days. It has grown. Unfortunately, the one thing that's not on the list here is, of course, Liberty Plaza, because that's behind the really giant building over there. So the plane comes to a landing, and it lands very smoothly. This person was obviously an Air Force pilot, not a Navy pilot, who are rather famous for slamming the airplane into the ground, like they only have 100 yards of runway to stop in. Ask me how I know. And it comes to a near halt, turns, taxis once again into its own extra wing of the airport, and then the stewardesses let the stairs down, usher you all out, and ask you to have a very nice day. The sun is still just kind of thinking about coming up over the ocean, but it's still early. When they say it's a red eye, they mean it.
I go into the cockpit and I hug the pilot before we leave.
Aww.
That was fun.
There's not many things faster than this plane out there.
Crash looks a little bit hurt at that statement.
If you practice, someday. So you get to the terminal, and there's a person there in a very nice cap, wearing a pair of gloves, holding up a little cardboard sign that says, "From Queens." Nobody else is there, mind you, aside from some staff milling around and a person running a coffee cart. But he's acting like that he may miss you guys.
Every opportunity, I have refilled my coffee mug.
Oh yes. So you run over to the coffee cart.
Make me one of those.
I stroll up to the guy holding the sign, who I imagine is like doing his best impression of like a Buckingham Palace guard. He's standing like this, completely, stone faced. Just kind of looking at him. Really?
It's a job, man. And so you're ready to go to your hotel?
You're telling me, brother. Why not? After a nice 15-minute flight, could use some rest.
So he takes you outside, and parked in front is yet another identical limousine to the one that you rode in earlier. He gets into the driver's seat and drives you across Washington. Once again, even though he's driving, it's still doing a very good job of not obeying a whole lot of the traffic signals and just kind of whipping between cars and finding, little gaps in a pattern when it comes to a red light just to go right through, much to the consternation of the other drivers. And you get to a delightful hotel. It is, you guess probably somewhere between 50 to 75 stories tall. It's kind of hard to see because it's that high up into the air at the top. You just kind of look up at it, and emblazoned above the door, of course, is the name that everyone knows and loves, Sawyer. He pulls up in front and gets out, opens the doors for you.
I mumble a thank you as I walk by the guy.
As I get out, I kind of nod back towards Gen X. I think he's got a quarter for you.
Oh, no need to cap. So you go into the hotel. It is the palatial Sawyer, Washington, D.C. It is, once again, like, you would be hard-pressed to find so many gold accents anywhere in the world aside from here and perhaps the Vatican. In fact, you think some of the art in there may have been from the Vatican. Just everything's wonderful. Has a gigantic atrium in the middle that goes all the way up as best you can tell. Dizzying heights above you. It's a interesting place. And yet for having so much height, it's not very loud. There's not much of an echo to it, which is kind of weird. Like the disgustingly plush carpet underneath your feet is somehow absorbing all noise.
I'm not going to complain. Yeah.
Unlike the last place, there are actually customers milling around here, even though it's being such a delightfully early hour. There are people, coming and going about their business. Most of them look very self-important, wearing suits, heading off to lobby or do something like that. Who knows? But you see the check-in desk, and off to the one side is the concierge's desk. There's a couple of bellhops there looking like young rapscallions dressed up as well, bellhops from the 40s.
It is entirely possible that at least one of those business people may leave the hotel without their wallet.
I
So you
just
get to-
just I never had before. So I just stand there, wrapped in my coat, my gloves on, shivering, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
So up at the reception desk, one of the people sees you and like, oh, you're the special guests. Excellent. We have a private elevator just for you. She pulls a bunch of key cards out and lays them out on the table in front. Each of you has your own room. Up on the boss's special floor, and she gives you a wink. And the room numbers are, of course, 6901, 6903, 6905.
Nice. So I toss one of the keys to Black Ice. In my experience, kid, don't think too hard about it. Just take it as it comes.
Yeah. They better have controllable heat in that room.
Oh, and in fact, they do. Once you get up the elevator, which travels at a ridiculous speed, like you're having a hard time, like just standing upright. You have to lock your knees. Like, whoa! And once again, Tink is just like delighted by this. Like,
Nope,
oh,
do not like.
does this use counterweights or is it a jet underneath it? This is awesome.
Crash is looking around, going, "What's the problem?"
I'm so excited.
And as it's going up, actually, hang on a second here. I know you have a skill for this. How about you roll identifying machines? The target will be 4.
All right. Difficulty
4.
4 difficult.
Yep.
Efforts to roll 0.
So that's where you can.
That's up to you.
Yeah, you can spend a level of effort, and it'll cost you a total of 2 points from your intellect. Normally 3 minus 1 for your edge, to lower that difficulty down by 1 level.
And how often do I recover?
Once you get some sleep, which you're hoping you'll do once you get upstairs.
Those are your recovery rolls. You recover 1d6 plus your tier, plus if you've taken any advancements. But right now it's 1d6 plus 1, as it says on your sheet. You get 4 of those a day. The first one takes 1 action, the second one takes 10 minutes, and so on, as it says on the sheet.
Ah, okay.
Now, would this be something that her in shifts would come into play, Patrick?
Oh, certainly. Yes.
Okay. Then, if it's a 4, I think she passes automatically.
Let's see. She has 3 intelligence shifts and is specialized. So yes, you can just pass automatically if you want.
All right. So am I still rolling, or am I canceling?
You don't have to if you don't want to.
Okay.
You can if you want to risk possibly getting a 19 or a 20 and getting something extra. But on the other hand, you can also roll a 1.
All right. So I'll throw in an effort.
You don't need to throw in an effort.
I don't need to throw in an
No,
effort.
because it's already gonna your difficulty is already down to a 0.
Okay. So input value
For what?
asset.
0.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So as you're listening to the elevator travel up, you hear this pulsing noise going by, faster and faster, and then slower and slower, and you realize what it is. This operates in the same fashion as a railgun. It's a series of magnets traveling on that's pulling the elevator up in sequence until it hits where it's supposed to, and then just levitates where it's once it hits the floor. Then you realize how tricky it is to time that, especially given that the weight of the elevator changes depending on who's in it and how they move. And, if it miscalibrates, it'll just stop and probably throw all of you into the ceiling, into the floor as you're going up. So, yeah. Say,
Control mechanisms in this. Oh, my God.
So you get to the 69th floor, get to your rooms. The rooms are absolutely wonderful. Of course, the first thing that Black Ice does is goes over to the thermostat, cranks it up as high as it goes, and then takes a nice hot shower.
Are we with anybody, or does everybody have their own room?
Everyone has their own room. Although you can room together if you want, stopping you.
Nope, I'm heading into my room. I am going to go and take a nice long hot shower, put on clean clothes.
By the time that you guys lay down in the bed, you black out almost immediately because it's incredibly comfortable, and it's been a very long day, including some minor arson and other things that went on.
That's invigorating.
I mean, hobbies,
I do have one last thing that I want to do before going to bed. I take my my battery charger, or my little portable battery charger, and I pop it open and move around a couple of cables, and I turn it into one of those like hand warmers,
Okay.
and I take it over to Black Guy. It's like, here, I hope this helps.
Thank
It should last
you.
a few hours.
I shove it in one of the fingerless gloves. Mumble something about a thank you. I cranked up to 95 degrees. But I'm still wearing my wool coat. And
Yeah, after last night, you're feeling especially cold.
Crash has fallen asleep on the bed with some kind of cheesy pay-per-view something on the TV. It's not
So you
quite porn because
wake
it's
up
only
hours
his first
later.
night there.
So after you wake up, and by the way, since you're waking up, you can burn out the rest of your refreshes and then set them back to 1 round.
7. All right, that gets me back up.
I'm guessing I get some of my grading done because it's not like I'm going to be replaced just yet. Try to crank it all out as quickly as possible.
A.
Didn't
Very
show
binary
work.
thinking at this point.
Without thinking, she actually starts doing it as the genetic sequence level or letters. A C G T G A C.
So you wake up very refreshed later in the afternoon. Make your way downstairs. Some of you notice that Tink is already downstairs with a mound of paperwork in front of her and several coffee cups lined up. Because, curiously enough, there's free coffee in the hotel lobby.
Curiously enough.
Yeah.
her back, the battery.
Vicious.
Back
And
to- and then
once
go
all
get
of you get
coffee.
down there, the driver comes from somewhere in back. Says, okay, well, look, it's time to go.
What was he kept saying?
I hand you back the battery pack. Mother, thank you. It's cold almost instantly.
I plug it into my other charger in the backpack, rapidly charge it, and give it back to you.
So you head back out, and once again, limousine is waiting for you, and it whisks you away across town, out towards the river, and to the former naval yard, which of course is now Liberty Plaza. At the one end of Liberty Plaza is this monstrosity of a building, designed the rest of the but curiously enough, it's a bit bigger than the Capitol building is. They drop you off at the far end of it, where the Reichsdonner sits. It is the main entranceway to the place. It is this monstrosity of old German engineering and ultratech that is kind of seated and laying back partway with a large hole right through the middle of it, where all the metal around the inside of the hole has melted and re-solidified into a nice tunnel. And this, of course, is the very famous thing that was sent over to the U.S. to turn the tide of the war and was defeated by the First Liberty League. You're like, Now, some of you may have actually seen it. Like, for instance, Gen X has been here before. So he's familiar with this. Like, oh, yeah, that thing. The atomic power source used to be right here, by the way. Just wondering. I've heard that one 1,000 times. And no, it's not that radioactive anymore here. That. There are STEM agents standing around here and there. They're quite obvious who they are because they're just standing around in their suits with the little curly things poked into their ear and trying not to look menacing, but not looking friendly either. As you're about to head into the tunnel, two people appear in front of you. And they do such in kind of a weird fashion, in that this kind of like an explosion of like black dust and strings and other things that swiftly fades away. And when this happens, Gen X, you feel this really weird like pulling inside of your head.
Weird what?
Pulling inside
Okay.
your, like somebody grabbed onto your cerebellum and just kind of tugged on your brain a little bit. It's not a pleasant sensation.
Okay.
And so the two just pop into existence. The one turns to the other. Well, so here we are. Perhaps my favorite place in the whole world, though I never thought I'd be showing up, as one of us. So here, let me show you what everything is here. The person that they're walking with is kind of weird in that they have curly red hair, very dark skin. They're seem to be a little too skinny on the top half and a little too muscular on the bottom half to have been kind of just, a person like that. It's just they seem off, like somebody took a bunch of people parts and stuck them together into what looks more or less like a person, but kind of not. They're weird. And the other person's like, we can turn back now if you want. And the other says, no. We've decided this is what we're going to do, so let's go do it. And so they proceed in and head off into the garden of statues. And of course, you had to stop for a second because, well, two people just appeared in front of you, and Gen X seemed to have a very temporary headache going on.
You okay, dude?
Yeah. That was weird. Not sure I liked it.
So you proceed in, and the entire area of the plaza leading up to the building, up until the steps that lead into it, is full of statuary. All several times the size of an ordinary person, in various and sundry heroic poses, some fighting actual enemies. So you see like some people sitting around, some guy throwing a big punch towards them. And you recognize most of them because they're all the old heroes. Ones that died during the war, the ones that died in the other war, the ones that died in New York while trying to defend it against the Iraq. All sorts of just wondrous things around here, all done in granite and marble. Just standing around, there's tons of people milling around, taking pictures with them, taking selfies, positioning themselves such that it looks like somebody has their arm around them and stuff, just to make the perspective work. It seems like a wildly popular place for people to come visit. And Gen X, as you're walking by, you don't just know of a lot of them. You actually knew a few. Folks from back in the day, didn't make it to the modern era. And that one was, shot by a thug in the streets. That was a rather ungood way to go for somebody as that. And others oh yeah, you remember that guy? Freaking there was a big villain fight. It took 4 people to take that guy out, and he took out one of them. It was not pleasant. So Crash, are you going to try to engage in your activity?
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to have to roll this.
Okay. What's my difficulty?
Your target's going to be 5.
Okay. So let's see.
This is a STEM agent-rich environment as well as a target-rich environment.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. So I've got 2 deck shifts, brings it down to a 3. Training and lock picking will bring it down to a 2. Sure. I'll throw an effort at it. Just so difficulty 3 after the 2 shifts. Effort to roll. No assets. Yeah. I got me some monies.
Excellent. Yes, you did. You come out of this with a pile of cards and a whole bunch of cash. You actually managed to return several of the wallets after you like to take them, grab the important stuff, put them back in because people are not paying attention.
Nope.
And fortunately, because of the crowds, people who are watching over the crowd are not able to pay enough attention to you. That or they weren't warned you were coming.
Right. No one ever expects the Crashish Inquisition.
So as you guys approach the building, you run into the last set of statues, and there are 4 of them flanking the front doors, which were the 4 out of the 5 members of the original League, all standing there looking very World War II-y. One is actually dressed up as a soldier. Another one has this really weird device in his hand that he's pointing towards where the light donor is. Another one is trying to cast some sort of spell and looking all self-important and stuff. But you do notice that, of course, the important one, the 5th one, isn't there. But, of course, Ray knows exactly where it is, because he's been here a lot. Because it's in the lobby for its own protection. So you go through the doors, and the lobby is a lot quieter than things are outside, because ordinary people generally are not allowed entrance into the building. Unless you have business to do there, it's discouraged. And in the middle of the lobby, the dome above is not made out of granite like most of the nice ones in Washington. It is instead made out of faceted crystals, all focusing its light upon the thing in the middle, which is the remains of the robotic hero Automacon, who is standing there holding its hands out in the position where it last did its deed, firing a beam of energy so strong melted clean through the Reichsdonner, but in so doing had somehow damaged itself or something, and it never moved again. It cooled off. The joints in its robotic body seem to have melded shut, and so all that's left is the shell of Starsteel that made its body armor. And by the way, like, Starsteel is interesting stuff. You've seen it recently, because that's what Night Knight's sword is made out of, and what his armor is made out of. Is very, very rare things. But here is something that the original thing that was made out of. Nobody knows where Starsteel is from. That is a carefully guarded secret, and something that Tink was to get her hands on more than anything else. The things you could build with that. And so, but you all stand there for a bit and look at the remains of the what was considered the first hero, the reason why all of the stuff that is around you, the building you're in, and everything exists. For that one moment when one person, technically 5, but really the one, saved the entire nation from very swift and obvious destruction. The Reichsdonner was a terrifying machine. Had walked its way, out of the ocean, destroyed everything in its path, was heading for the Capitol building when it was taken down. Some of you might get a little emotional. Some of you a little suspicious. Is that really the original one? Or it just swap one out, right? I mean, maybe it's like living somewhere on a beach in Hawaii for all you know. Yeah. But there it is, standing there, this weird contraption, a robot. Nobody knows who built it. That's another interesting part, maybe from alien worlds, but it does look surprisingly human. It's very much a person made out of metal. And it's there, just silently, still engaging in its last act of trying to defend everybody. It's kind of touching when you think. It is also of note the first robot that was ever considered to be sentient, and created an entire new category of people inside of the United States who had the rights and privileges of citizens. It was allowed to vote, or granted the ability to vote during the war, as it had done such a wonderful job in the European theater. Never got the chance to exercise that vote, of course, because it had to race back home and try to save the country, and died doing it. And as you're standing there, you hear footsteps walking up behind you. and they come to a stop with a kind of military cadence. Clack, clack.
Crash will turn around.
You turn around, and you're looking at the chest of a person. Look up. And you are face to face with Ultra Soldier Alpha, the leader of the Liberty League. Dressed up in a quasi-military outfit that's all spangled and bedecked. On either hip, he has a pair of pistols in 50 caliber BMG. Insofar as anyone's told, he's probably the only person who can actually fire those things and not break his arm. They're just terrifying. He's almost 7 feet tall. Very, very big, muscular, very dark man. Looks down at you with a smile. Oh, you made it. Excellent. Thank you guys for coming. He holds out his very, very large hand to shake yours. You're Crash, correct?
I've been called that.
Excellent. Takes your hand. He has a fairly gentle grip on it, in spite of the fact that, his miss just dwarf yours. Like, if he squeezed his hand, you just would never use that hand again.
I was imagining like you flailing around like a cartoon.
So, yes. But you know him by reputation, of course. He is the leader of the Liberty League. He is a war hero many, many times over. Able to, fight off whole squadrons of enemies by himself, although he does have a cadre of Marines that he often travels with. They are very, very dangerous people as well. But he is a bona fide, honest-to-goodness, all-American hero. For what that's worth to the rest of you.
And even less so to Crash.
So, I hear you're here to take the test. So, are any of you not registered currently?
I kind of, I hold my hands up like this. I kind of, stand off to the side so he has a better view of the rest of them.
I elbow Tink.
I have nothing to register.
We'll be the judge of that. Come on, guys, let's go in back.
I'd ask how the underside of that bus looked, but I know you're busy retooling it into something. So,
so he walks the group of you through a door into one of the, back working hallways. You are now further than any tourist has ever gone inside of the place. Occasionally, people creep in to take a look at Automacon, but once again, they're not encouraged to do so. So they'll take a quick picture of it and head out the door again. But no, you're sent into the back. There's people milling around, lots of people in lab coats. You kind of feel like you fit in here all of a sudden, Tink. Everybody is wearing a badge of some sort with some strange symbol on it, and usually some acronym that you just don't recognize, like BOMB. Those guys look like they have to be a lot of fun. Down the hall and into a room where there is a set of desks and people being interviewed, including the two people who had bamfed into existence in front of you. And so you're guided to a seat and asked to sit down. And a clerk sitting there, a STEM operative, of course, is sitting there. So, would you, let's see, hang on. Would you please look forward? And snaps a picture of your face, pulls it up. Ah, Magda, excellent. Thank you for coming today. So, you would like to register your power?
I don't have any powers.
He opens up his desk drawer, grabs a handful of things, and drops them onto the desk. You see amongst them some paper clips, rubber bands, a couple sticks of gum, something that, like some spent batteries that look like they're corroding a bit, just various and sundry bits and pieces. looks at you, says, okay, make something out of it. Just quick.
I mean, like, I make some kind of like rubber band gun that just happens to be electrically powered.
And semi-automatic.
So you make a rubber band gun that, through some principle that makes perfect sense to you, since the elevator incident earlier encouraged you, has a railgun implemented with it that somehow propels a piece of rubber, which is notoriously not magnetic, along to increase its speed. So you pull it up, point it at the wall, and it shoots through the drywall, leaving a nice little hole.
This comes into play.
And the person sitting there is just staring at you. You were saying.
Do you want me to explain it to you?
Okay, look up and smile. Takes another picture of you. Does some stuff. And a card pops out of a machine around and hand it to you. There's your identification. Use that for the chip on it, of course, is for your stipend. It will arrive there every 2 weeks. The same card is used for your healthcare and any housing initiatives that you may need or other assistance.
How much of a stipend?
Not enough.
So he quotes you basically full-time working a bit above minimum wage.
So still a raise. Woohoo!
Certainly enough to get by on, but living in Excelsior, that's the kind of money that where you have like 8 other roommates in your room, but still, not bad. It's better than nothing. You can certainly afford ramen with that.
Compared to an adjunct salary.
Yes, actually, adjuncts tend to make less than minimum wage.
I lean over to her and say, "Now you understand why I do what I do."
So USA walks over. Congratulations, excellent. See, I knew you had it in you. I can tell. All right, so on to the next part. He cackles and it's a little menacing. Like, okay, so follow me. It takes you down the hallway into an elevator. And the elevator is designed for a person easily of his stature, if not a bit bigger. And he walks in, and you can see it adjust itself a little bit because of the extra weight as he steps onto it. He's, once again, a very, very big man. And the rest of you get in. The door shuts behind him. He hits a button on the wall, and the elevator starts going down. And he looks at you guys as you go down. Oh, by the way, just, I know this may be a bit premature because, you haven't taken the test and all, but my name's Hank. That's how I'm known outside of all of this. And I hope that, through our work, maybe we can be friends because I really enjoy what I do. And I enjoy even more the people that I get to work. It's the best job ever. They almost couldn't get me out of, re-enrolling for yet another term. But after 20 years in the Marines, you can only do so much good for the world. But here I have a chance to do even better things. I'm very glad for it.
So Crash is frantically looking around the other 4 people for someone who will understand, and finally, for lack of anyone else better, his gaze settles on Paw, and he just kind of looks at her and goes,
No, he didn't drink the Kool-Aid. He is the Kool-Aid.
"No, I need a drink."
So the elevator comes to a rest after a surprisingly long period of time descending. You have no idea how far down this building goes, but it's pretty deep.
But boy, do I have calculations.
The door opens up, Actually, you can calculate that, so you can figure out, give or take the acceleration just based upon sensation in your feet. You're like a good 500 feet underground. Hey, this is a deep elevator. The door opens up into a very large room, cavern even. Although all the walls, of course, even above you, about 100 feet above, are all of some sort of cement. It's cement-y, it's kind of the wrong color, but it's not stone either. You're not quite sure what it's made out of. And the room looks sort of like maybe a giant gymnasium. There's some exercise equipment over here. There seems to be a target range over there. There's this ungodly large obstacle course in the middle of it. Like the sort of thing that somebody who practices parkour would very, very much be interested in seeing, because it'd be fun to go through. Your average parkour person would probably die on it, but it's worth trying. Inside of the room are lots of people wearing white lab coats with their nice aluminum. Shoot, why is that word just slipped out of my head all of a sudden? Clipboard, aluminum clipboards. Aphasia is just wonderful, isn't it? All kind of milling around doing stuff. As soon as you step out of the elevator, you hear a weird cacophony of a couple people being extra jubilant about something coming off to your right. And before you know it, Paw is almost tackled to the ground by somebody that looks more or less like Medusa. He has mostly green and tan, scaly skin, a very long, very muscular tail. What would possibly be hair is not quite snakes, but it's not hair by any stretch, because it's moving around on its own and occasionally hisses at people. And it lengthens and shortens itself as it goes. And Julie, you recognize this person. Formerly used to live down with you guys. And this is Zola, a nickname that she acquired because, well, she looks like a Gorgon.
And I still don't like her hair.
It kind of looks sort of like box braids, but once again, it's alive and seems to have a mind of its own. And you happen to know...
It's the whole hissing at me thing that I'm not really...
And you happen to know that it is very capable of hurting people. You have fought her many, many times when you were younger and training and learning how to, fight and defend yourself and stuff. She's the type of person that both of you would usually, more often than not, fight to a standstill. She's very, very good at fighting. Like she has, like large talons sticking out of her fingers. She's not designed for ordinary human activities, but she very much seems to be built for killing things. And she's, as far as you can tell, very, very good at it. The other one that comes up, you recognize very well. This is a person who is known as L, and she is one of the two people.
What?
L, E-L-L.
Okay.
Oop. There you go. Elle is a rather well-known person. She is one of the two leaders of the conclave that your family lives in, that is in the Bronx, and which is, by the way, the largest community of the Addams family. And so one of the two leaders has gone all the way to Washington to hang out with you. The rest of you notice the interesting thing about this person. She's shaped very much like an ordinary person. Her skin, on the other hand, is, for the most part, like rock. Very dark rock, like basalt. Except that through it, there are veins of some other material, which is glowing a nice steady red. She is very, very warm. Black Ice, you take a liking to her immediately because you don't feel quite so chilly when you're standing near her, because she's just kind of radiating heat all the time.
I kind of sidle up near, but still stay out of the way.
Now, Pa, you very much know not only who this person is, because once again, one of the two people kind of leading the family, and because it's very much run like a family, so she's kind of the family mom. And you also know that she is one of the most extraordinarily dangerous mutants that are running around. She seems to be able to produce lava from just about anywhere. Out of the ground, out of her, it's horrifying. The amount of heat that she's capable of generating really, most people find way more unnerving than they want to admit for a person who is freely able to walk around the fine city of New York and around the country with nobody able to do anything about her. And she has shown up, and she's goes up to you and shakes your hand. Oh, I'm so glad you've decided to, join the ranks of the heroes. That'll do a wonderful thing for our community. I'm very glad you're here. But I came just to make sure that they treat you well. Whenever you're dealing with the agency or the program, let me know, and we'll make sure that someone's there to take care of you. Because we don't want you signing anything that isn't quite the standard forms or anything that we've already agreed upon.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
My gods, they've unionized.
Oh, the Adam family, yes. They're a very tight community.
Oh,
So
before you take off, Blackus, come here for a second. You want to warm your hands up just a little bit? Like, seriously, she's got issues. I don't know what, but she is cold all the time. I look up.
So as you sorry, ATOMS.
Okay.
It's riffing off of the Children of the Atom, the X-Men. So as you Black Ice, as you walk up to her and you put your hands on her, the weirdest thing happens. You don't get warmer. You get colder fast. Like your hands immediately feel like they're freezing and ice starts forming on them.
I jump back instantly. Oh my god, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Oh, your defense is kicked on. I've seen that before.
That was interesting. I'm sorry. I didn't think
There's
that
a bit of a cloud of vapor that's forming up in the room now, by the way, by the two temperature extremes happening in the same place.
Yeah. And I just kind of look at my hands and look at her and just kind of like, I don't know.
So one of the people in lab coats walks over, writing some stuff down, and said, all right, so are we ready to begin the test? Do you have any questions, or do you just want to get going?
Bring it on.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Let's do this. Reaches in their coat, pulls out a pistol, and shoots Black Ice. Boom. And we'll see you all next week.
All right. So that was issue 2 of The Powers That Be, Decisions. That was one hell of a cliffhanger. That was awesome. So we're going to
timing this.
Hmm?
I'm getting better at timing things correctly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's actually, we're just about at the 2-hour mark. So we are going to get going. We're going to film a quick after show, which will be, both of these will be up on YouTube in the next couple of days. But if you guys have had fun, please consider following, subscribing, putting something in the donation bin. If you thought we were crap and you want to see us completely change what we're doing, consider following, subscribing, putting something in the donation bin so you can see what we make of it. But in the meantime, I am the Vitruvian Meeple here with Patrick, Ekat, Magda, Julie, and Ray, saying, remember, it's not the game you play, it's the Meeple you play it with. Good night, everybody.